Think for a moment about the people who have mattered most in your life, your closest friends, your first crush, maybe even your partner. Now ask yourself, how did they first come into your world? Were they a stranger from across the globe, or were they simply there, in your class, your workplace, your neighborhood, your circle of friends? Chances are the people who shaped your story didn't arrive with a dramatic entrance. They slipped into your world quietly, simply by sharing space and time with you. And that's the hidden truth of attraction. More often than not, it begins not with lightning bolts or fate, but with proximity. Our brains are wired to notice what's around us. The people we see again and again, walking the same halls, standing in the same coffee line, working on the same project, gradually shift from strangers to familiar presences, and familiarity, in the human mind, feels safe. It softens the edges of uncertainty. What was once unknown becomes comfortingly predictable. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. The more we're exposed to something or someone, the more we tend to like it. It's the same reason you might start humming along to a song you didn't care for at first, simply because you've heard it enough times on the radio. Repetition breeds preference, and with people, repetition can breed attraction. Think back to your school years. How often did crushes form not because someone was the most dazzling person in the building, but simply because they were always there, at the next desk, in the cafeteria, on the same bus ride home? The countless small encounters slowly stack up, weaving a sense of closeness that feels natural, almost inevitable. But proximity doesn't just create familiarity, it creates opportunity. Every time you cross paths with someone, you give attraction a chance to spark. A smile here, a shared joke there, a casual conversation that deepens over time. Without proximity, these moments never have the chance to exist. And so, being near someone again and again is like planting seeds. Sooner or later, some of them take root. It's why relationships often blossom in workplaces, universities, neighborhoods, and even online communities. It's not magic, it's math. The more often you encounter someone, the more likely you are to form a bond. But let's not mistake this for fate or destiny. Proximity can open the door, but it doesn't guarantee we'll step through. You may sit next to the same person every day and feel nothing, while one conversation with another can change everything. Proximity lays the foundation, but what builds upon it is something deeper. Still, never underestimate the quiet power of familiarity. Imagine walking into a party full of strangers. At first, it feels overwhelming. Faces blur, voices merge, the room feels alien. But then you spot someone you've seen before. Maybe you don't even know them well, but their presence instantly feels comforting. You're drawn to them, not because they're the most interesting person in the room, but because they're familiar. That's how the brain works. It favors what it recognizes. Familiarity lowers anxiety, reduces uncertainty, and creates a sense of trust. And trust is the bridge that makes attraction possible. Interestingly, this doesn't just apply to people. It applies to places, to brands, even to ideas. We're more likely to trust what we've seen before. This is why advertising repeats slogans and logos, why we rewatch our favorite movies, why we return to familiar restaurants. The brain finds safety in the known, and in relationships, that same principle quietly guides us toward the people we see most often. But there's another layer here, shared experience. It's not only about being physically near someone, it's about living through moments together, struggling through exams side by side, working late on the same project, celebrating a win, grieving a loss, laughing at the same ridiculous event. Proximity creates the possibility, but shared experience deepens the bond. Think of two people stuck on a long journey, strangers at first, but by the end, they've formed a connection that might last a lifetime. This is proximity at work, magnified by the intensity of shared experience. It's why travel companions, classmates, or colleagues often form surprisingly strong ties. And yet proximity has its paradoxes. On one hand, it makes us like people more. On the other, too much exposure, without balance, can sometimes breed boredom or even irritation. Think of being stuck in close quarters with someone whose habits clash with yours. Familiarity, in such cases, doesn't breed attraction, it breeds frustration. That's why attraction is never about proximity alone. It's about how proximity intersects with personality, with kindness, with shared values. Being near someone gives us the chance to see who they are, and depending on what we see, attraction can either grow or wither. Still, if you look at the stories of your life, you'll likely notice a pattern. Many of the people who became significant weren't those who burst in dramatically, but those who drifted in quietly, again and again, until one day they felt like they had always been there. This is the psychology of closeness. Attraction is not always fireworks. It is often a slow, steady glow fueled by repetition and presence. The people you spend the most time with shape your world, and within that world, they begin to shape your heart. And so, as we move deeper into the psychology of attraction, we begin to see a theme. Closeness and repetition create comfort. But comfort alone doesn't explain why one familiar face makes your heart race while another does not. The next piece of the puzzle lies in similarity, the discovery that someone doesn't just share your space, but also your worldview, your humor, your values. And when familiarity meets similarity, attraction begins to take on a whole new depth. Have you ever had that moment where you discover someone shares the same strange opinion you've always carried, or laughs at the same obscure joke you thought only you understood? In an instant, the distance between you shrinks. It feels less like meeting someone new and more like finding a long-lost ally. This is the power of similarity. Proximity may bring people into your orbit, but similarity is what makes them feel like they belong there. Human beings are tribal creatures. For most of history, belonging to a group meant survival. Those who were too different, who couldn't align with the values or beliefs of the tribe, risked isolation, and isolation in a dangerous world often meant death. So over time, our brains learn to seek out the familiar not just in faces, but in minds. We are naturally drawn to people who think, believe, and feel as we do. It's why conversations light up when you say, "Me too." It's why friendships often form around shared hobbies, cultural touchstones, or life experiences. And it's why values, those invisible compasses that guide our decisions, play such a powerful role in attraction. Think about the last time you felt deeply connected to someone. Chances are you discovered not only that they were kind, but that they saw the world in a way that resonated with you. Maybe you shared a worldview, a passion, a set of beliefs. That resonance is like striking the same note on two different instruments. Suddenly, both vibrate in harmony. Psychologists call this the similarity attraction effect. Quite simply, we like people who are like us, not identical, but similar enough to make us feel understood. This doesn't mean every couple or friendship is a mirror image, but certain similarities, especially in core values, are like glue. They give relationship stability. When two people believe in the same principles, whether it's honesty, kindness, ambition, or faith, conflicts are easier to navigate because the foundations align. But why is similarity so attractive? The reasons run deeper than comfort. First, similarity validates us. When someone agrees with us, it feels like confirmation that our worldview is not only legitimate, but shared, and humans crave validation. It reassures us that we're not alone in the way we see the world. Second, similarity reduces conflict. Differences in taste can be fun, but differences in fundamental values often create friction. If one person values independence while the other craves constant closeness, attraction may spark but struggle to last. Our brains sense this tension early. That's why we instinctively lean toward those who feel on the same page. Third, similarity enhances predictability. If someone shares your attitudes, you can often guess how they'll react to situations. This makes them feel safer, and safety, as we've seen, is one of the foundations of attraction. But similarity isn't just about heavy values like politics or religion. It's also about the small details, favorite foods, hobbies, even quirks of personality. These little echoes of ourselves in others create micro moments of connection. Two people who bond over a love of the same band or the same book are experiencing more than entertainment. They're experiencing alignment, and alignment breeds attraction. Of course, too much similarity can sometimes backfire. If someone is too much like us, it can feel uncanny, even boring. Attraction often needs a touch of difference, a spark of novelty, something that challenges us just enough to stay curious. But those differences are easier to embrace when they rest on a foundation of similarity. Imagine it this way: similarity is the soil, difference is the seed. Without the soil, the seed cannot grow, but without the seed, the soil is barren. Together, they create balance. This balance explains why relationships often thrive when people share big-picture values but differ in small, complementary ways. A couple may both value kindness, but one might be more adventurous while the other is more cautious. The similarity creates harmony, the difference creates growth. And here, where the psychology of attraction reveals something beautiful, the very act of discovering similarity can amplify attraction. When you uncover that someone shares your values or tastes, the emotional impact is greater than if you simply knew it all along. Surprise fuels the bond. It's as if the universe has conspired to place two like-minded souls in the same moment, and the rarity of that alignment makes it feel special. So when you think of why someone caught your attention, ask yourself, was it their face, their voice, their presence? Or was it that spark of recognition, the sense that in a world of billions, here was someone who thought like you, who laughed like you, who felt like you? Similarity doesn't just build attraction, it builds intimacy. It turns casual conversation into confessions, strangers into allies, allies into partners. And in the end, it's this sense of you and me against the world that cements some of our strongest bonds. But similarity alone cannot sustain attraction. For attraction to truly ignite, it must be mirrored back. And that brings us to another quiet but powerful force, reciprocity, the magnetic pull of being liked in return. Think about the last time you discovered that someone admired you, maybe even in a way you hadn't expected. Didn't it change how you felt about them? Even if you hadn't noticed them before, their attention suddenly shifted the spotlight. You started to see them differently. Their smile seemed warmer, their presence more inviting. That is reciprocity at work. Psychologically, we are wired to respond to affection with affection. It's a kind of emotional mirror. When someone reflects interest toward us, we often find ourselves shining it right back. This isn't just social politeness, it's evolutionary strategy. For most of human history, rejection was dangerous. Pursuing someone who didn't return our feelings wasted precious energy and left us vulnerable. But when someone showed interest first, it was a green light. Here is a safe place to invest your heart. So, our brains learned to prioritize mutual attraction. And reciprocity has a subtle but powerful impact on self-perception. When someone likes us, it validates our worth. It whispers, "You are desirable, you are valued, you matter." And few forces in psychology are stronger than the hunger to feel valued. This is why even uncertain attraction can catch fire once reciprocity is revealed. Someone you thought of as just okay can suddenly become captivating once you learn they're drawn to you. Their interest reshapes your lens, highlighting qualities you overlooked before. But reciprocity isn't just about grand confessions of love. It can be as small as eye contact that lingers, laughter that comes easily, or words that signal, "I see you, I appreciate you." These micro-acts of validation ignite attraction because they answer one of our deepest human questions: do I matter to you? Still, reciprocity is not a guarantee of lasting connection. It's the spark, not the firewood. To sustain attraction, there must be something to sustain it, something tangible that our minds and bodies recognize as desirable. And this brings us to one of the most immediate and primal factors in attraction: physical features. Let's be honest. Before words are exchanged, before values are revealed, before laughter seals a bond, something else often speaks first: the body. We are visual creatures. We notice posture, movement, symmetry, expressions, the little cues that make someone stand out in a crowded room. Attraction begins, for many, with what the eye perceives, but what we call beauty is rarely random. It's built on thousands of years of evolutionary whispering. Take symmetry. Across cultures, humans consistently rate symmetrical faces as more attractive. Why? Because symmetry often signals genetic health. When a face develops evenly, it suggests resilience against disease and stress during development. Our brains, tuned for survival, interpret symmetry as a sign of strong genes, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Then there's skin clarity, hair shine, and eye brightness. These features subtly signal vitality. They hint at good nutrition, hormonal balance, and youthfulness, all markers of fertility and reproductive health. We may call it glow, but beneath the poetry lies biology. Body shape, too, carries evolutionary echoes. In women, a waist-to-hip ratio of about 0.7 is often perceived as attractive, not because of cultural conditioning alone, but because it historically signaled fertility. In men, broad shoulders and a lean waist signal strength and capability. These are ancient cues. Our ancestors didn't have dating apps, but they did have instincts honed to detect survival and reproductive potential. But here's the nuance. Attraction is not dictated by biology alone. Culture paints over biology with its own brush. Ideals of beauty shift dramatically across time and place. A fuller figure may be prized in one culture, while leanness dominates another. Pale skin once signaled wealth and desirability. Today, in some societies, a sun-kissed tan does the same. Beauty is a moving target, shaped as much by social storytelling as by biology. Yet even beyond health signals and cultural ideals, physical features carry individual meaning. You might find yourself captivated by someone's smile, not because of perfect teeth, but because of the way it lights up their entire face. You might notice someone's hands, or the way they carry themselves, or even the sound of their laughter. Attraction often anchors to small, unique details that feel personal, intimate, and irreplaceable. This is why attraction to physical features is never just about a checklist of traits. It's about the story those traits tell in your mind. Maybe their freckles remind you of summers as a child. Maybe their voice resonates like a familiar song. Maybe their presence feels alive with energy you crave. But as captivating as physical attraction can be, it is fragile on its own. Looks can draw us in, but rarely do they hold us long enough to weave something enduring. For that, we need shared meaning, shared passions, shared rhythms of life. This brings us to something deeper, something that sustains beyond the surface: shared interests. Imagine two people on a first date. Conversation is polite, maybe even pleasant, but then one of them mentions a band, a book, a sport, or a dream that the other also loves. Suddenly, the air changes. Their eyes light up, voices grow animated, laughter bursts out. The energy in the room is electric. That is the power of shared interests. Shared interests are more than hobbies. They're signposts of identity. When we discover someone loves what we love, it reassures us that we're not alone in our passions. It also creates a ready-made world in which the relationship can live. Think about it. A shared love of hiking doesn't just mean two people like walking in nature. It means they can build weekends together, explore trails, push each other physically, share sunsets from mountaintops. A shared interest in art means afternoons in galleries, nights sketching together, a shared language of color and form. These activities create what psychologists call behavioral overlap, spaces where two lives intertwine in meaningful ways. The more overlap, the stronger the glue of connection. But there's another layer. Shared interests provide a foundation for positive reinforcement. Each time you engage in an activity you love with someone else, your brain associates them with joy. They become tied in your memory to the rush of the concert, the laughter on the trail, the satisfaction of a project well done. Over time, this reinforcement strengthens the bond, making the person feel indispensable to your happiness. And yet shared interests aren't everything. Two people can love the same music but clash in personality. They can adore the same books but handle conflict differently. Shared interests open the door, but compatibility of personality determines whether the door leads to a lasting home. Attraction might begin with physical sparks, grow through shared interests, and deepen through reciprocity and values. But personality compatibility is what determines whether the flame burns steadily or flickers out. Compatibility doesn't mean sameness. It means complementarity, two personalities that can dance without stepping too hard on each other's toes. Psychologists often describe relationships in terms of attachment styles, temperaments, and emotional needs. Someone highly extroverted may pair well with a partner who appreciates their energy but also provides grounding calm. Someone who is more anxious may flourish with a partner who is steady and reassuring. It's like puzzle pieces. Each piece has curves and edges. Alone, they are incomplete. Together, they create a picture. Compatibility is the fit, the way one person's strengths balance the other's vulnerabilities. But compatibility is not only about avoiding friction, it's about amplifying joy. When personalities mesh, laughter flows more freely, silence feels comfortable, disagreements resolve more gently. The relationship becomes less about managing conflict and more about sharing life. And here's the secret. When compatibility is strong, attraction often deepens over time instead of fading. The longer you spend together, the more the relationship feels like home. And home is one of the most powerful forms of attraction there is. Every interaction in a relationship is like a drop of water on a stone. One drop doesn't make a difference, but over time, the pattern shapes everything. Positive interactions are reinforcement. They tell the brain, this person makes my world better. When someone consistently makes you feel good, through kindness, humor, empathy, or simple presence, your brain ties their presence to reward. The attraction grows not because of grand gestures, but because of countless small reinforcements. And the opposite is also true. Negative interactions, even small ones, can erode attraction over time. This is why consistency matters. It's not the grand dates or the big declarations that sustain desire. It's the accumulation of little things, the thoughtful text, the shared laugh, the supportive glance in a crowded room. Attraction, in this sense, is not just a spark. It's a garden. It needs tending, nurturing, and care.